Welcome to another edition of EDTalks, where we just highlight great leaders. And Paul, you're one of the first people that came to mind. Welcome to EDTalks in my leadership series.
Thank you, Ed. Pleasure being here.
So I just loved serving with you, although it was not long enough. So you and I were connected at New York City Health and Hospitals, and it was just a fascinating environment, place to serve, a great organization. And I really just admired all the different leadership qualities and traits that I'd seen in you. And so really wanted you to share with my audience some of your leadership insights. But before we get there, Paul, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, I've been in healthcare over 25 years. I've had a number of executive roles across large academic medical centers like Mount Sinai, public health, health and hospitals, as you just mentioned, rural health systems, Guthrie Clinic. Currently, my last position here is with the University Hospital as the CIO. I've had CIO positions, CTO positions, VP of infrastructure and analytics, and I've had a lot of very different roles throughout my career, but all culminates in actually loving healthcare. I've stayed in this space my entire career. So, I've had opportunities to work in other industries, but healthcare has really been my big passion.
Yeah, and it comes through. And I think part of it, too, is because you started off on the clinical side, right?
I did. I'm actually a biochemist by training, and I did biomedical and clinical research for about 12 years at Mount Sinai before switching into technology. So, yeah, I have both sides of the...
Yeah, and I think that really helps in overall leadership. So what are one or two things that you've learned on your journey and you continue to utilize today in your leadership roles?
Yeah, so, I think one of the things that I've learned over the years from other mentors is that you really need to develop a sense of self, because over time, there's highs and lows throughout your career. You have to center yourself on the things that are important to you as a person, as a leader. But the one thing I've repeatedly been told and has been a success for me is giving back, gratitude, being able to understand that everyone's journey is a little different. People are all different levels in their career, and being able to impart on others coming up the ranks the things that you've learned and the gifts that others have given you. To me, that's incredibly gratifying. And I've had a tremendous experience working with small and large teams where that sense of gratitude really pays in spades, because people give so much more when they're motivated, when they see the vision, and when they see that they have a leader who actually understands them and appreciates what they give to the project or the institution that they're working in.
Paul, tell us about a time where there was a big challenge. So maybe it was walking into a new role, or maybe it was an existing role and something happened, and what you did and with your team to sort of overcome that challenge.
Yeah, big challenges. I can tell you one experience was actually H&H. When I had first gotten there, it was an organization that had 11 hospitals, but they had separate IT departments across the entire institution. And so at the time, I was working with our CIO, I was the CTO, and we, over a 2-year period, worked on creating one integrated IT organization, really changing the culture of how technology was being used. But it also allowed us to unify the budgets, unify the staffing, actually take waste out of the system, and actually move the institution forward in a way that eventually wound up being the on-ramp for us having one enterprise electronic health record, which is when you came. Without having done that work, it would have been very challenging to get the leadership behind having a enterprise EMR for the institution. That took a lot of politically astute conversations with the leadership, and also assuaging people's fears, because people who held on to their role as a leader at one organization, feeling that now they're going to become part of this large, shared services organization, they're worried. And it's a matter of dealing with the personal side of it. So we spent a lot of time meeting one-on-one, talking with people, hearing their concerns, letting them, get out what their angst was about it. And then we talked shop about, listen, here's how it can be done, and we want your input. And that works almost every time. If you include people in the conversation and get their perspective, you can get people to understand the larger vision of what you're trying to do.
That's a great example, Paul, of leadership, because in order to pull that off, you have to go into your bag of skills and use a lot of different skills to make that happen successfully. And you're right. Not only did it pave the way for one EMR, but then when COVID hit, as a result of all the work that you and your colleagues had done, bringing everyone together, enabling the digital transformation, they did really, really well. I was talking to the CEO at the time during the COVID journey, and he points back to those efforts as, a key catalyst for how they were able to manage through COVID as well as they did. So yeah, kudos to you. And that's a great example of high quality leadership. Hey, one last question. Some of our listeners are earlier in their career and they might just be managers, maybe analysts, perhaps a junior director. What's one piece of advice you would give someone who's kind of working their way up to the ranks? They look at someone like, that's Paul Contino, man. He's done all this stuff. He's been a CTO. He's a CIO. How can I be like him? So what's one word of advice you would give a young leader?
Yeah, I would say don't get discouraged by the challenges that are in front of you. Everyone thinks a career path is like a straight line. It's never a straight line. And you're going to have your ups and downs, but keep focused on moving forward and being a lifelong learner. I think if you listen and you ask good questions and you can internalize the information that people are giving you, and sometimes good and bad. I mean, you gotta realize that not everybody is giving you the best information, but you have to assess that and move forward. And I think building a good set of colleagues, mentors, and coaches around you is critical. I think the one thing I realized in my career is that there are so many great examples of people who took the time to understand where I was at, where I wanted to go, and saw things in me sometimes that I didn't see. It helped me along the way by giving you guidance. And, sometimes it's even just a shoulder to lean on.
Yeah.
Like in there, you can get through this too. And it really matters. So somebody early in their career, don't get discouraged. There is a shining star out there that you can follow. And that's not always a straight path.
Paul, that's wise counsel. And just even listening to you, I get all jazzed up and miss our days serving together. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and experience with my audience.
Thank you. It's a pleasure, Ed. Anytime. And yeah, I wish I was working with you again, but maybe sometime in the future.
Yes.